so concerned with our own jobs and with our own pension pots, we've bought the big lie that money is real, and that we start worrying about the world economy or the European Union bailouts, the new treaty, the Angela Merkel and Nicolas Sarkozy treaty, when in fact, ladies and gentlemen, it's important for us all to know, and especially us walking past who either work in finance right now or used to work in finance, is that money is just a manifestation of energy, and it is created out of thin air by central banks. The European Central Bank, the World Bank, the IMF, and their main guys, Goldman Sachs. So please remember that it isn't a case that we don't have enough money to take care of the vulnerable. It's a case that there is a spiritual vacuum in the leadership in this country. But as they say, the people get the leadership and the politicians that they deserve. And somewhere along the line in the last 80 years, we stopped believing in family, in brotherhood, compassion, and love. And we started believing in pure greed through free market capitalism. And I'm the biggest believer in free market capitalism. It's just that when you couple that with greed and a lack of spirituality, you've got fascism that gets created. So I know that, you know, I'm just one crazy guy with a megaphone and that you're just going to walk away and watch television and watch EastEnders and X Factor. But just slow down for one moment and please think for yourself, what are the actually important things in your life? What makes you happy? What makes your children happy? What makes your wife happy? And you'll probably find that it's compassion, love, understanding, community, and being there for one another, and not about earning massive bonuses, not about being better than your neighbors, not about having the latest Rolex, but actually about slowing down and stopping to smell the roses. And you'll probably find that the roses in your life are your family, are your parents, and are certainly the very vulnerable people that could do with a bit of your compassion. And at the very least, if you could please just notice them and not walk past and scowl. And I'm talking about the homeless people around the corner at Occupy London, at all those tents. They could do with some of your compassion, maybe some of your conversation, without you walking past and treating them like scum, like untouchable people. Because one day, every single one of us, we might be untouchable, we might be vulnerable. And then you remember how you treated the vulnerable people in this society. So my message ultimately is a message of love, of understanding, of realizing that every single human being on this planet is potentially an angel, is potentially a wonderful great spirit. And that if we just disregard and ignore people head on for our own personal gain, then who knows what might happen. We might have a repeat of Germany in 1939. We might have a repeat of Rwanda in the 90s. So.
Are you with him?
Well, not with him in a relationship.
No.
Hiya.
Hiya. We've been asked by Broadgate to feel that you're now, they've opened up access so that people can come through.
Sure.
However, not if they're going to come and protest, because it is private land.
Yeah.
You'll have to move outside of where the private land is.
Sure, but I'm not protesting. Did you hear my message?
It's
a compassionate Christmas. Let's try not to ignore the elderly and the vulnerable and try and love one another. So it's certainly not I don't even know what if it was a protest, what am I protesting against? It's literally, I want to get everyone to slow down. I worked for 7 years for HBOS as an investment advisor, and I lost my job in the Lehman Brothers collapse. And what I do now is I preach a spiritual message of understanding and unity, and I try sometimes to use comedy to try and make it a bit easier to swallow. And we could enter a massive discussion as to whether this is private property, who actually owns it, what these civil liberty issues in terms of common law versus statute law, and we could enter into that, but all I ask from you guys as human beings is that we'll be finished in literally about 5 or 10 minutes. And then we're finished,
Can I ask a favour then from our point of view?
Of course.
Obviously they have their own point of view, and they don't necessarily know the full laws around using these kind of things. And I've explained to them, you can use a megaphone, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But they do have a right to limit people to the square because it is private property.
In the square.
And this is also their land, although they haven't stopped people in this area.
Yeah.
After those bollards, it's not their land, and you're welcome to go and preach your message. Yeah, it's not a problem.
Absolutely. But for me, it's a matter of also principle that it's this gigantic corporation, this Mitsubishi Enterprises that allegedly owns the Paternoster Square.
Yeah.
It's like, in terms of humanity and in terms of common law, does a corporation, is the corporate law more powerful than my common law rights if I'm not hurting, stealing, or harming anyone?
About another 10 minutes, you say?
10 minutes.
How about if I go and ask them?
Yeah.
Will
That would be fantastic. Because then everyone wins. Yeah.
As long as, I mean, we just want a balance of your civil liberties. We definitely don't want to step on that.
Of course.
But we also do have to work within the law. And I appreciate there is an argument where that law meets.
Sure.
And it's well above my head, I'm afraid.
And mine.
So you have the best policemen in
The world.
We do, and we do.
Well, this one. Well, these ones.
We don't want, we don't want to deprive your right of protest or your right of civil liberties of
just free speech.
Exactly. And you haven't. I didn't hear it. But the message you're saying to me doesn't seem offensive in any way or inflammatory. And if it is only for a few minutes,
literally 5 to 10 minutes before we freeze to death.
It would, however, be easier for us to balance that position if you could do it past those bollards. That would be preferable for me, even if it is just for 5 minutes. That's what I prefer.
But then it's no longer a balance, it's just one person won.
Yeah, then it's them telling me that I can't speak freely about peace and love here. And what I said to you earlier is that the civil law about it, or the criminal, I don't think it's a criminal matter.
Unfortunately, I prefer if you decide the bollards.
Okay, well, I ask you guys as human beings, and obviously as members of the police, if I could please have your compassionate authorization to carry on where I am without any issue for 5 minutes, and if we agree exactly 5 minutes, then I'll go, because I want to, obviously, part of the compassionate thing is that we negotiate, and that we don't always obey the big corporations to tell individuals that they can't do free speech and what is
They're not saying you can't do free speech. They're just saying they'd rather it didn't happen on their land because they feel it then produces conflict with the people who use their land, and they, it gets in the way of the normal business of this place. Okay, and even if your message isn't necessarily a protest, even if it's just causing that, they'd rather you didn't do it on their land. And I appreciate there is an argument whose land is.
Okay,
but
can I ask
as far as I'm aware,
you guys a question?
Yes.
What would happen if I carried on, with full respect to you guys, for another 5 minutes exactly here, preaching about peace and love?
Well, they've asked us to move you off their land. Okay, that means they have a legal right to do that, and we have to enforce that. I help them move people off who won't move of their own accord. Given that we're only asked you to move 20 metres, and you can put across your message just as well as you can there as you can here, you're going to get exactly the same number of people. I would really appreciate that understanding.
But in terms of my common law rights over the Mitsubishi Enterprises, how does that work?
You would have to take it up with Broadgate Estates. Once we've got the injunction in, we cannot interfere with them because it's a civil matter. It's not a police matter.
Okay. This is a civil matter.
If you wish to complain, about the fact that this is private land and they're only on here, I suggest respectfully that you take it up with the company that owns the land.
Okay. So, but just to quote what you said, that this is a civil matter, not a criminal matter?
It's not a criminal matter. You're not committing a crime.
So if I carry on for 5 minutes...
But there is a common law power to assist landowners. The police have a common law power to move people off their land. If it's not a criminal matter, in this case.
Okay, so would you guys arrest me if I carried on for 5 minutes?
No.
Okay.
But we could escort you off the area before.
Okay.
Essentially, I don't want to have to do that.
No, sure.
All right.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to do that, as we've already discussed.
So if I carried on for 5 minutes, would you guys phisically move me out? Is that how it works? Or?
Essentially, that's a power.
I've been on it that many times.
I have discretion as to whether I would use that.
You could probably think, we'll monitor it for 5 minutes.
That's as I'm trying to do now.
Sure.
No, I won't monitor for 5 minutes because that just means
His name
I have a discretion to use.
It's
no
called the
force
Love
on you,
Police.
but just talk to you.
It's on-
Okay.
if you want
And
to
I would
see
really
it,
appreciate
it's
it.
on
Give
your
me the-
I'll have a
give me
look
piece of
later
love.
on. Yeah, no
Love
problem.
Police.
We just want a nice Christian
Yeah.
girl. We don't have to be
Is yours got on YouTube
laying
as well?
hands
Is
on
it?
people. That's
course.
absolutely the last resort
Okay.
for us.
Sure.
And I would really appreciate it.
So
yeah.
let me just clarify that I understand you guys correctly.
Okay.
If I carry on for 5 minutes, it's not a criminal matter, but you guys have the discretion as to whether you can escort me off the property.
Yes.
But I'm not going to get arrested.
No. Unless it then caused other offences.
Okay.
For instance, if you forcibly
I don't see what the problem is. But
Yeah, it's not going to
Structured
happen. It's not
that.
going
No,
to
he
happen.
takes
of
it.
course,
He
yeah.
takes his civil
Okay.
rights very seriously.
So,
well,
no, that's
my-
great. That's
my
all I
view
needed
is-
to know. So,
But again, that's my off the top of my head on it.
Okay.
And I'm
It's not my problem
sure I
or
make
our problem,
mistakes as
that's
anyone.
private
okay, all I ask then, because we've had a nice conversation, is that if there is any threat of me being
No,
arrested,
it's
you give me
blog
plenty of
estates
warnings so
on
that I'll
the
stop. But because this is
in the right.
a spiritual
Clear everybody
project,
off
we
the
want
land,
to see
everybody, put barriers on it.
how the
Which is
human
what we
being
did.
relates to corporations. And
they're
it's
quite
it's
reasonable.
about that. So,
They've got a court
in all truth,
injunction to stop
that
people
is well
coming in.
above my
It's only
head.
out of the goodness of the heart. But
All
let
I'm
people in
here
there.
to do is my job.
yeah.
Okay? And that is to, in this
I know
case,
that, yeah.
look
No,
after your civil liberties
you
whilst
get-
also
you get several
looking after
calls
the
here.
legal
Yeah.
rights of, as you say, the Mitsubishi Corporation, but in this case, the security guard who is an agent of them to say, we do no longer want them on this private land doing what they are doing.
But I
They've
find quite
opened up the
ironic.
square so that
Well, you
people
start
can
out
walk
the
in,
pavement in the front there. You're on public
and
property.
go
Do
about
what you
their
like,
business
really.
and-
Yeah.
It's just
enjoy the square.
we don't make the law.
Sure.
All the barriers, not so.
There's 859.
They did it with the balance that if it
So
went
what is
above,
the,
that, above and beyond just enjoying the square.
What does the love police
That's
do?
great. Let me give you guys a 30-second demonstration, and then you can see. Yeah.
No.
What's your name?
Charlie Veitch.
Charlie. It's nice to meet you. I'm Ned.
Nice to meet you.
I hope we're getting somewhere here.
We
What
are.
I'd really like
Yeah.
is that you just move down there.
What I really find funny though
Yeah.
is that what bothered them is a guy's preaching about love with a megaphone,
Yeah.
and they'd rather have
I don't think they.
police officers surrounding people. and
I don't
then
think
having
they've
a lot of
necessarily
people
heard the
look at that.
message. They just feel, given the potential for protest building,
Yeah. Okay.
they have to keep it at a level of
Okay.
this is now open to the public. They've taken that step because they didn't want to shut it in the first place, but they felt they had to, otherwise it would become an
I know, because we're also filmmakers, a wonderful compromise where we can all win.
Yeah.
If I start walking out and we'll be finished, because the 5 minutes is pretty much up, and you guys escort me off whilst I do this, so then they see you escorting me off.
I would rather we walk off you, or you walk off on your own. That's
Yeah.
what my
Okay,
preferred
yeah.
thing, but you walk off on your own.
Okay.
But without using it.
What if I walk
you're
off with using the MEV? Because then I'm already on my way out, so there's no aggravated trespass because I'm agreeing to leave,
Yeah,
whether
so I
I'm allowed or
appreciate
not.
that.
You see that? So on a legal basis.
I know, but we're arguing over very minimal details.
No, but you see, it's
essentially,
fascinating,
we would
though.
like.
Yeah.
You just made that up.
For you and for me,
Sure.
I just
Okay.
need to do this.
Never heard of that before.
Okay.
You know, they've got their job to do. I've got my job to do, and you obviously have your civil rights that you want to,
Sure.
to
Okay.
exercise.
We'll tell you what, because you've been really cool. We will leave now.
Thank you.
But all I ask is please don't arrest me. I'm going to megaphone the peace and love for literally 15 seconds as we get off.
After you walk off, go on.
Thank you very much. I
Cheers.
mean, nice
Was
to
it
meet you as
Charlie?
well.
All right, no
Nice to meet you.
problem.
Charlie Veitch.
They don't get the
Nice to
hug.
meet you.
You don't really hug.
The love folks.
You.
Yeah, cheers guys. No, you've been
Have a
really cool.
lovely,
And
holiday
this is why
season.
everyone knows British police are the best in the world.
Very nice.
Thanks
to
very
see
much.
you.
Okay then.
Cool man.
Okay. Thank you. See you later.
Have a good night.
Inside every last one of you is a caring, loving human being. That somewhere we've been trained by society, by television, by newspapers, by Margaret Thatcher, by David Cameron, by Tony Blair, that we can solve problems through violence, that greed